Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Forbidden Land podcast. This week is the final episode. I'm recording in October. It won't come out in October, but I'm recording it in October. We have an interesting episode this week. We have what I've done so far this fall season, a couple news stories, a couple other things I want to talk about. It's the final episode before democracy collapses as we know it. This week I am going to... This will come out after I've done this. This week I'm going over to my mom's house to celebrate Halloween. I'm going to help her hand out candy. Going with my girlfriend and my sister. Those are two different people, by the way. For the people out there wondering. That's what I'm doing this weekend. Let me talk about what I've done this fall so far. And of course, we still have a whole second month to get to for the fall season. I went to an apple festival and I got some fresh apples. I didn't write this down, but I also got like a rice and chicken queso bowl. And I did not like it very much. It wasn't bad, but it was like those sloppy ass. It's like if you destroyed a burrito from like La Hacienda and just ate the contents of the burrito. It was very mediocre taco truck food. It was fine though. It wasn't super expensive or anything. I went to a pumpkin patch. That was pretty cool. Went to this pumpkin patch and got pumpkins too, to be exact. We carved Snoopy into one of the pumpkins. And then while I was there, I also got this delicious pumpkin bread that they make, which I like to toast and then spread honey cinnamon butter on. And then we also got some kind of like apple jam. We got apple cider, like old-fashioned apple cider, in a big jar. That was my girlfriend's first time having apple cider. It was pretty good. It's pretty good apple cider. But we got those. We also got some apple cider donuts. They were made fresh in-house. That was the thing that convinced us to get them, was that there was a window above the shelf that they were on where you could see the people in the back making them. And that was enough to convince us to buy some. So we carved up the pumpkin. I took all the pumpkin seeds and spread them out on parchment paper, put some garlic, some salt, some avocado oil on them, and roasted them. And those were pretty good. And we also made a fresh apple pie with the apples that we bought at the Apple Festival. So that was pretty good. We have not finished the pie. It's been over a week. We have not finished the pie yet. Let me go down. I had to write down what I've done so far because I've just forgotten. Let's see. Oh no, that's it. That's everything I've done. Awesome. Making roasted pumpkin seeds was a nice little treat because I haven't done that since I was a small child. So that was a nice little throwback to my childhood. Making roasted pumpkin seeds. But yeah, that's what I've done so far this fall. I want to eat more pumpkin bread. I want to get more pumpkin bread and make French toast with it. Or just make French toast in general from scratch, but I want to make French toast. And then I want to eat a pumpkin pie with whipped cream on it. That's another goal of mine. This fall season. Speaking of the fall, got me some of these pumpkin Reese's. This is my favorite part of Halloween. It is currently 8:14 a.m. and I will be eating a pumpkin chocolate Reese's early in the morning for the festive spirit. So, let's talk shop now. So last week I made an episode where I talked about H3 and nobody watched it as of this recording. Nobody watched that episode, which is a little surprising because it kind of feels like every time I bring up Israel, the episodes don't get suggested to anyone. Because I've talked about other dumb shit and gotten views before. Not with this though. So I talked about Ethan and how I'm disappointed because I'm a former fan. I'm disappointed in his recent comments, and there's been some new developments where someone has said that the way that I didn't paste this link? Oh god. Let me fix the doc while I'm talking about this. So his wife was called a terrorist by a YouTuber, and the YouTuber used the same standards that Ethan uses to describe the Yemeni pirate kid. Which you can make the argument that Hila is indeed an IDF terrorist to some extent by the same standards that Ethan holds for this kid that is just a Yemeni pirate. He's not actually in the Houthis. He responded to this claim. He was like trying to say that comparing a Houthi to an IDF soldier is not the same and yada yada yada. It's such a nothing response. It's such a double standard type of response. She said a few years ago on the pod that she went on an IDF raid to the quote unquote terrorist city of Ramallah, which is like the capital city of the West Bank pretty much, and it's not a terrorist city. Let's remind the council that, folks, there's no Hamas in the West Bank, and Ramallah, like every metropolitan city, has crime in it. What? Oh my god, are we gonna start calling Tel Aviv a crime city or a terrorist city because there's crime in it? What? You're telling me a major city has crime? Oh my god, no way. But that's not even why they went and raided the city. They raided the city for what she claims is terrorist activity. It really says a lot about your country that you have to worry about constant terrorist threats, quote unquote terrorist threats. And a YouTuber named Bad Empanada had a good point that it seems that, if they were talking about the bookkeeper or the secretary or whatever she was for ISIS or Hamas, they would call that person a terrorist because that person would still say that they're in Hamas or in ISIS, despite just being a secretary. You would still call them a terrorist, even if they haven't seen any combat. And Hila was the secretary of for a division of the IDF, so Ethan claims that she was just like a secretary that would book people, soldiers, like hotel rooms and stuff for if they were going to patrol other parts of the country. And, you could make the argument that if the IDF are terrorists, then that would make Hila one too. The IDF and these other groups like Hezbollah and Hamas and all that operate fairly similarly with Israel just having the backing of a Western superpower. That's the only difference. You know, like, you know, if all of a sudden like Russia or China started backing Hezbollah, then like, yeah, you can keep calling them terrorists, but then now they're you know, nation backed by an imperial superpower, so you can't really say. Can you even call China an imperial superpower? I don't know. They don't really engage too much in imperialism, do they? I guess they might. I'm not sure about that one. So, anyways, sorry, I'm being semantic. So yeah, you know, the Ethan stuff is so annoying. Him lying about that kid, that's just a Yemeni pirate, it seems. Calling him a Houthi terrorist when it's, you know, pretty obvious at this point that he's not in the Houthis. That when he was asked on that one Twitter video if he was a Houthi, he didn't understand the translation, thus thought they were asking if the Houthis were Yemeni, which he was saying they were. And the Houthis are like a group from Yemen that formed into a militia group that defends Yemen against Saudi Arabia and other Western forces. Hezbollah is a similar situation. They're a militia group created to defend Lebanon. Hamas is a military resistance group created to defend the Gaza Strip from Israel. Do some of these groups use barbaric methods? Of course. I don't really support war, I haven't made that obvious already. So the existence of any of these groups I'm not super down with. If it was up to me, nobody would have some giant army. But, you know, I'm just some free-thinking hippie when I say stuff like that. But I understand, I don't condone, but I do understand the reason why a group like Hamas has to exist. I do understand why a resistance group does exist in the Gaza Strip, because if it didn't, Israel would have wiped it off the map a long time ago. They would have already done the whole, we're going to do the Trail of Tears and all of you can just walk into Egypt. Go to the Sinai Peninsula, bye-bye. That's pretty much what Israel would do if there was no Hamas. Or they would just kill the rest of them. You know, that's what I'm saying. Same thing with Hezbollah, you know. Hezbollah is like the only quote-unquote army that Lebanon has. And, you know, when they just start going like, oh, they're terrorists and they're terrorizing Israel, it kind of just sounds like they're trying to defend Lebanon. Kind of sounds like that if Israel wasn't such an aggressive force in the Middle East, kind of sounds like these groups wouldn't really clash with each other. And yeah, then people are going to argue, oh, well, how come Hezbollah started attacking Israel, blah, blah, blah. It's because they are bombing the Gaza Strip. It's like obvious why these outside groups would start provoking Israel, because they're fed up with the unfettered, like, fully supported genocide in the Gaza Strip. The no holds barred. And I'm gonna get to the Iran stuff in a second, but it's my little taste of the Iran part of the news. But yeah, I'm upset. I own Teddy Fresh merch. I've had to remove a video with me wearing it because I don't want it to seem like I'm supporting their company. I've even thought about finding out a way to remove the bear from my Teddy Fresh and replacing it with another patch. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm upset that I have to ditch this entire... I'm upset that I can't wear that stuff in public without looking like I support genocide. I mean, at this point, it's like, you know, they're one step removed from being on the BDS list. If they started, like, donating money to the IDF, then they would immediately be Teddy Fresh should be added to the BDS list. Because, and you know, him getting mad, that's something I didn't even mention last week, I don't think, is that him getting mad about Sabra hummus, people not liking it, or that it was on a tier list where people were saying that, where the tier list was literally how Arab are you? That's the actual tier list, by the way. It wasn't like a Arab good, Jew bad tier list. It was a how Arab are you tier list. And part of that tier list was that if you eat Sabra hummus, then you are like what would be basically the white person of the Arab community. An equivalent would be like on a black tier list where the bottom, tier says that you don't season your food, or like has never heard of salt. Something like that. And then like white people would be tacked onto the bottom of that list. Mike from PA was on the Love Sabra part of that tier list. And Mike from PA is pro-Palestine. So they're just saying he's a white guy. He's very white-coded. But Sabra hummus... Sabra is part of the BDS list and has been since, I think, 2004, because the profits for Sabra directly support the IDF. So if you're wondering why Sabra hummus is not very widely liked by the Arab community, it's because they're on the BDS list for a very good reason. Also, so exhausting to talk about. Him saying that it's in every Israeli refrigerator is so funny, because I have now heard from Israelis that a lot of them don't like Sabra hummus. That a lot of them like homemade hummus or locally made hummus, not Sabra hummus, an American hummus company. So him saying it's in every Israeli's refrigerator, and that saying that you don't like Sabra hummus is like saying that you hate Jews. If I was Jewish, I would be so fucking mad. I would be so over it. And, you might go like, oh, well, you're not Jewish, so you don't really know. No. I have Jewish friends. I know Jewish people online. I've seen the response from a lot of Jews online who are anti-Zionist, who have said, this is fucking ridiculous. His reaction to all of this is ridiculous. And that, conflating the word Zionism with Jew is very, one, anti-Semitic, but also very hurtful towards any movement that fights anti-Semitism. The Apartheid Defense League has already played a role in banning people for not being anti-Semitic, but like they're trying to say that they are. So it really deals a blow when you start crying anti-Semitism towards stuff that isn't anti-Semitic. It really weakens the power of that label. So also him equating I didn't talk about this last week, but the North Lane video about why Leftovers ended, him saying that the Jewish Voice for Peace organization is akin to the Capo in the Holocaust. Crazy ass thing to say. Crazy ass thing to say, which shows you what he thinks about anti-Zionist Jewish people, is that more than likely he thinks they are tokens like Candace Owens, because he's just disgusting. He's a disgusting person. He's never heard of free thinking. There's a difference between grifters like Candace Owens, who just get a paycheck for saying shit that is definitely racist towards someone like her, a black woman. There's a difference between that, where she's clearly just grifting for the paycheck, and because she's been hate crimed before, so like it's kind of obvious that she's grifting. There's a difference between that and a group that is fought for a marginalized group that has been occupied by the Israeli state for 70 plus years. They're clearly not doing it for money. There's no money in being pro-Palestine. Nothing but risk in being pro-Palestine. What's up, guys? Did you know we have a Patreon channel? If you want to go over to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod, you can support this podcast.
For $1 a month, you can simply just send me $1. For $3 a month, not only are you sending me $3 for support, you also get your own Discord channel and your own role on the Discord. And if you send me $10 a month with a 7-day free trial included in that, you get all of my bonus content, including your own feed that includes these episodes and the bonus episodes. So if you want to hear my thoughts that I don't usually say on the public episodes, including a more just chill kind of episode in general, you can pay $10 a month and get those episodes. There's also a $15 tier with a 7-day free trial that is just sending me an extra $5 if you're feeling like you want to send me an extra $5. It's the same as the $10 tier. And there's a $100 tier. That's the same thing. If you want to send me $100 to support the project, go for it. It has the same benefits of the other tiers. So go on over to patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod and get some bonus content or a Discord channel or both. Back to the episode.
So, I don't know where I got this pin from, by the way. This says Full Sail University. I almost went there in 2020. And I decided not to. I heard too many questionable things about it. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the election a little bit. So, actually, let's skip that for right now. I want to talk about, since we're already talking about Israel, I want to talk about the Iran attack. So, Israel has seemingly struck Tehran. The severity of said attack has been called into question. The pictures I've seen are pictures that are from years ago in other areas of the world. But it seems fairly likely that they struck Tehran in Iran. So someone compared Iran's anti-aircraft capabilities to the Iron Dome. That Iran pretty much has their own Iron Dome, and it's at the cost of their own taxpayer money. And this person said, didn't know it was possible for another country to have an Iron Dome without draining another country's taxpayers' dollars. And the reason I bring that up is because there was an Israeli press release about the attack on Iran that had something very odd at the end of it. And I would like to read that for you right now. Because it's like, it's one of those things where you read it and you go, that's a little weird. God, it's not going to rain for like another 3 weeks. That's crazy. Okay, this is what it said in this one part. Based on intelligence, the IAF aircraft struck missile manufacturing facilities used to produce the missiles that Iran fired at the state of Israel over the last year. These missiles posed a direct and immediate threat to the citizens of the state of Israel. Simultaneously, the IDF struck surface-to-air missile arrays and additional Iranian aerial capabilities that were intended to restrict Israel's aerial freedom of operation in Iran. Now, what does that last part mean? Israel's aerial freedom of operation in Iran. Are they trying to claim that they have every right to fly over Iran with a military aircraft? I don't know. It's like if all of a sudden Iran started saying we took out the Iron Dome because it was restricting Iran's freedom of travel over Israeli airspace, wouldn't that be like super questionable? Like, wouldn't that ring out as kind of gross? Kind of questionable? I don't know. Like, The fuck does that mean? Since when does Israel have full aerial freedom over Iran? That's a crazy ass thing to say. Let's say like Russia was like, we took out Ukraine's anti-aerial defense system because it was restricting our Russian freedom to fly over Ukraine. Would that not sound wrong? Like, what are we doing here? I'm sorry I'm so low energy this episode. I'm just tired, and I'm tired of retreading the same fucking talking points every week. I'm tired of having to re-explain every week why what Israel's doing is wrong, and why every time they give some bullshit press release, like, it's always in English and it's always the same fucking guy talking to the camera, and he's always like, Israel's right to enter your home and shit on your carpet and eat your couch. It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Or like when Netanyahu goes, they're hiding missiles in your garage. Lebanon, Mr. Lebanon's Lebanese people, they're Hezbollah's hiding their weapons under your couch and missiles in your garage. Like, who's gonna hear that and go, I need to go check my garage? Like, what? There was an airstrike done on a Lebanese apartment building. Oh God. Done. I don't know how long ago, but I saw the video a week ago. And it's one of those things where I'm like, they door knocked to this building. They clearly had it evacuated. Oh no, it got taken down? Are you fucking kidding me right now? Oh, because it violates Rule 11. That's such... Dude, that is such a hypocritical rule, because they allow videos of the Ukrainian invasion on here, but not videos of Israel striking Lebanon. That is crazy to me. Oh, go fuck yourself. I wonder if I can find it by searching the caption. Yeah, r/Lebanon. Here's the exact video. Like, how many missiles were in there, guys? All their stuff, their whole livelihood, everything. All their belongings that they had to leave behind to get out of the building safely. Yeah, where were the weapons hiding at, guys? They had to strategically missile an entire apartment building in the middle of Lebanon. I would like to know. It's one of those things where all these press releases and everything, you can see the horse shit that they force down your throat, because Israel doesn't care. They're a colonial force. They want the surrounding nations, because it's pretty obvious at this point. In like 200 years, if they're allowed to continue operating like this, they will more than likely have taken over like all the border nations around them at the very least, and then probably beginning their operation of taking over the countries next to those countries. Like, it's so obvious what their plan is. I don't know what's going to happen by the end of the week. I don't know if Iran's going to retaliate. It sounds like they will wait a while before retaliating, but like, if they do, but yeah, here, speaking of retaliation, let's look at what the UK Prime Minister has to say. The Liberal UK Prime Minister, by the way, they just outed the Conservative Party in Parliament, and so the first Liberal to be the Prime Minister in over 12 years, Keir Starmer, I think his name is. Let's listen to what bright-minded Liberal Keir Starmer has to say about Israel's attack on Iran.
To address Israel's strikes on military targets in Iran. This is a live situation, and we're obviously monitoring it closely alongside our partners. I am clear that...
Bro's talking like it matters. Bro's talking about it like England has anything to fucking do with this situation, as if they are gonna fucking matter at all. No, we're gonna listen to what the US government says about this, because whatever the US government decides, the UK, our little bitch in the European space, is gonna just fall in line with whatever we say. So I don't know why Bro thinks he's part of the team. Why he thinks he has to talk about this.
That Israel has the right to defend itself against Iranian aggression.
And that's the most bullshit part of this, is that them going, after Israel kills a couple high-ranking people in Iranian military, Iran fires missiles at Tel Aviv, and then like a month later, Israel strikes Tehran. And all of a sudden, it's Iranian aggression. Why do we keep killing high-up members of their government? And then crying when they fucking strike back? Why do we keep doing that? You know why we keep doing that, but that's what they're gonna play up here, is that Iran started all of this. We can't just leave the Middle East alone. We have to be involved in the Middle East in some way.
I'm equally clear that we need to avoid further regional escalation and urge all sides to show restraint. Iran should not respond. We will continue to work with allies to de-escalate the situation across the region.
Yeah, he says Iran should not respond. Sorry, I just got thrown into the darkness bubble there. Also, it's golden hour. Y'all want to see me go into golden hour? It's golden hour, folks. So, yeah, obviously everything he said is horseshit. It's basically just, we can attack as many Iranians as we want until y'all strike back, and then it's like, no, y'all actually don't have the right to do that. Classic imperialism, Western type shit. Sorry, my stuff on my desk fell when I opened up the curtain. It's been a while since I've opened this curtain, if it wasn't obvious, because I'm never home. I only come home to film the podcast, and then I fuck off to work, and then I'm never home. Anyways, this whole situation is so unbelievably stupid. It's just more global politics. And, liberals will be like, oh, it's so complicated. How are you going to give such a sure opinion of the situation? It's such a complicated situation. It's really not. It's really not. The aggressors in the situation are the Western-backed, US-backed, taxpayer-funded country, satellite nation that we set up there, like, back in the 40s. And, I don't understand why the Israeli state can't exist without constant war. I really don't know. Like, why do they insist on starting a 5-front war? Why do they insist on endangering the Israelis that live in their borders? Like, they're like, oh, we're a Jewish nation state. It's like, yeah, this is like the most unsafe place on the planet currently for Jewish people to be in, because y'all keep making it unsafe. Anyways, let's talk about one last thing relating to Israel, and then I'm going to move on to the election. John Fetterman. What a disappointing shitbag that we all supported him, and then he just switched up on us, This is his response to the pager attack in Lebanon a month or two ago.
I just want to bring it back to your state, though, because you have gotten criticism from both Muslim groups and pro-peace Jewish groups. Last month, the Philadelphia and Pittsburgh chapters of the Council on American Islamic Relations, they issued a joint statement where they condemned you for saying that you loved Israel's pager attacks targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon.
I do. I absolutely.
Well, they said when our elected...
I don't know if he actually believes that, to be honest. I know he gets AIPAC money. Just look at how much he doesn't give a fuck.
Absolutely.
Well,
I do. Absolutely.
they said when our elected officials start condoning the civilian loss of life, our collective moral compass is irreparably harmed. That's a quote. And indeed, that attack did hurt and maim civilians.
It didn't. It actually, it was targeted for members of Hezbollah. No one uses beepers in that situation other than they were a member of Hezbollah.
There was a young child
that was a micro targeting to minimize
There was
civilians.
a young child who was killed who was taking the pager
It
to
did,
their parent.
unfortunately, tragically, because Daddy was a member of Hezbollah. That's tragic.
He's saying everyone who owns a pager in Lebanon is a member of Hezbollah. He's saying that kid, his father was a member of Hezbollah, and that's why it's fine that the kid got maimed by a pager in Lebanon. Could you imagine if we decided to occupy Canada, and then when Canada tried to fight back, we decided, let's just blow up every iPhone. All the terrorists up there have iPhones. And I'm sure they're the only ones with iPhones, right? And then we just blow them up?
Now, he brought that danger and evil into their home. And
a pager. Think about the fucking brain rot worm that this guy is consuming. We are talking about a pager. Think about what he is saying. If you live in Lebanon, a country that is somewhat impoverished, so not everyone there is going to have a cell phone. What's a cheap form of communication? What is also a form of communications that hospitals use and, EMTs and police and all that use because they're reliable forms of communication? Think about all the different people that still use pagers. Even in the US, think of all the people that still use pagers. To say that the only people that had a pager in Lebanon were members of Hezbollah, that is insane. But, he gets paid to say shit like that, so, he's not going to win. He's going to hand the state over to Republicans for the next Senate race. Because if he gets, or he's going to get primaried. Because the primaries are just going to be like, don't you literally support murdering children? By the time he's up for re-election, I guarantee it won't be as taboo to be pro-Palestine. At least on the Democrat side. If one of them goes, didn't you say that killing innocent children is chill because there's terrorists in the vicinity? He's going to go yeah, I do support that. And then he's going to lose a primary.
And that's what tragically resulted in that poor child's death, and that's what's so terrible. She paid the price because her father was a terrorist for Hezbollah, and I grieve for the death of Palestinian children and other innocents there. I don't assign any more value to their lives, versus my own children's lives, and that's why we have to destroy Hamas, and we have to develop a new way forward where people can live in peace, so that this kinds of death and misery, it has to stop. But it's not being driven by Israel. It's driven by Hamas and Iran and that kinds of commitment to destroy the state of Israel. And now you have idiots in this nation, talking about and chanting about from the river to the sea. And they
Oh boy, here we go.
try to pretend that doesn't exactly what that means. And that is Israel is in the middle of the sea and that river, and that has to be wiped free. And that's at least own your anti-Semitism rather than trying to hide behind a turn on words.
Saying that it is anti-Semitic to chant from the river to the sea when talking about liberating the people of Palestine is insane. But, you know, that's standard for someone who gets APEC money to be saying shit like that. It's a classic talking point. It doesn't work anymore. And, you know, I like that show, by the way. They had John Oliver on, and it was a pretty interesting interview. Let's move on. I'm tired of talking about shitbags like John Fetterman. So, I really want to close the curtain now because I'm being blown out on the camera. The election is coming. By the time this comes out, the election episode will be the next episode. Lord, man, look at me. I'm blown out. Oh no. The election episode will be the next episode by the time this comes out. And that's when we will know whether or not our democracy has fallen, whether or not we will actually have abortion rights. Even if Kamala wins, it's still up in the air whether or not she'll actually codify Roe v. Wade. Because Biden sure hasn't fucking done it. And here's my prediction for the election. I think Harris will probably win. But not by a lot. And I wanted to show a funny prediction. So every election since 2012, ERB... Actually, I think every election since 2008, Epic Rap Battles of History have made a presidential candidate versus presidential candidate rap. And usually the person who gets the second verse, the person who gets the first verse loses, and the person who gets the second verse wins. Someone also pointed out thumbnails. Here, look. People are saying that ERB predicted that Kamala Harris will win. That's pretty fun. I haven't watched this yet. But it's a pretty funny idea that ERB is the one determining who wins the election. But in terms of actual predictions, I do predict that Kamala Harris will probably win the election. Here's my prediction map. Let me show this. Here's my prediction map. Right here, folks, right here, we have my prediction map. My prediction shows her not winning by a whole lot. Yeah, see, 9 days to the election. I don't think she'll win by a whole lot. And that's a little alarming. I don't know. This is such a pitiful electoral map. I've been having dreams about this. Dreams about her losing. I've literally been dreaming at night doing the election episode and her losing in the polls. And it's like... I think that's a nightmare scenario. I don't mind being wrong, but I mind the fact that if I am wrong, it spells disaster, domestically speaking. Either way, either candidate, it's going to be a disaster for the Middle East, which is one of the biggest issues in this election. The genocide in Gaza, like, Kamala Harris will softly enable it. Trump will just full on like participate. And so both sides are bad in this situation on that front. Domestically speaking, you know, I don't know. I feel like this spells trouble. If he wins, it'll not be great. Here's the 538 polling, by the way. The 538 map is way more horrifying than mine. This is based on polls and other states. They have not called Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, or Wisconsin. They've called them toss-ups. They have called North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona. North Carolina and Georgia and Arizona all leaning Republican, which I said only Georgia was going to go Republican. They're predicting that these two will go Republican. Electorally speaking, she will be cutting it so close that it almost feels like she will lose. You know, I was feeling really good about her chances when she was announced as the new candidate. And now I'm horrified by a potential loss from the Democrats. If you want some context, this is the Biden map that he won by. Here's my prediction map for Harris. Here's the Biden map. You know, some key differences being that I think she will lose Nevada. And that I think she'll lose Georgia. But I did say I think she'll win North Carolina. Yeah, I think she's cutting it really close. So next week will be the election special. We will go live on Tuesday, November 5th at 7 p.m. Just in time for some of the first polls to close. I might have John with me for that episode like I did during the primaries. And yeah, we will be doing live election coverage. So, not that the election will be finalized by the end of that night, more than likely, but that's the plan, is to do live election coverage for a few hours. And then I go to bed and I wake up for work the next day, finding out who probably won the election. So, that's the end of this episode. A little bit of a short one, but that's fine. Because the long one will be next week. So look forward to the election special on Tuesday, November 5th at 7 p.m. Go vote. Not going to tell you to vote for, but go vote. And just know what your options are. And participate in the local parts of the ballot too. Local government is a big, big part of how your life will be altered. State and local governments are a huge factor in this country. The federal government can only do so much, unfortunately. So go vote. Also, go subscribe to us on Patreon, patreon.com/forbiddenlandpod. Subscribe for $10 a month. You get bonus content. Subscribe for less than that, and you can just support the podcast. Go listen to us on streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, all of it. Amazon Music, whatever you want to listen to us on. And I'll see y'all in the election special. Bye.